Good evening, good evening, good evening. Another quick PSA. Not gonna keep you long. I know I always say that. So anyway, tonight's PSA, in extension to what I've been talking about this week, is talking about vetting people and knowing the difference between an anointed person and a morally good person. Tonight's PSA is all about knowing the difference between an anointed person and a person that's good. Because you can be anointed, you can be talented, and you can be the biggest butthole on the planet. Just because you're talented in something or have a spiritual gift does not make you a kind person. Ladies, have you ever been to the nail shop before and that nice lady, she was friendly and helpful, but she didn't do your nails good? But that, that mean woman who has a bad attitude, I don't want to use the wrong words, the B word, she's rude, she has a stinky attitude, she file your nail, making blood come out, but she make your nails look good at the end of the day. So just because somebody does a good job at something does not mean they're a good person, does not mean they're a considerate person. It's narcissists out there who are talented at what they do. Plenty of them make it to the top and become very notable. Fellas, you may go to the barber shop and it's a guy that you don't really like him that much, but he lines your hair up really good. It's the same thing with spirituality. Look at the star athletes. Look at some of the people who are key players. They may have personality deficiencies in real life, but they're talented at throwing a ball. It's singers out there, you hear about them being divas and being rude to people in real life. So the same applies to spirituality. Somebody can be a great priestess or a great priest and be a rude person, be a mean, grouchy person. I mean, we all have our days. You may have somebody who is spiritually gifted or so-called psychic or a good medium, but they may be a terrible person. They may treat people poorly. They may not treat people fair. So that's just something to think about. Like I said in one of my past posts, you have people who are good at what they do. They're damn good at what they do, but they are bad, terrible people in real life. If you hear some stories about how they treat people and how they have stepped on certain people, you will be surprised because you're only looking at their talent. You're only looking at their gift and their anointing, and you're like, oh my God, I have to follow this person. So you have to make up your mind if you're going to either work with somebody. This could be in any area, like whether it's real estate, getting your nails done, getting your hair cut, a spiritual teacher, a spiritual leader. You have to decide, okay, this man is a butthole, but he's really good at giving me this advice. So you're going to either have to learn how to weed out the bad and take the good from that person and just not deal with them on a personal level because they do a good job, or you have to decide, do I want a person that's they're a nice person but they're mediocre at what they do. So what I was saying is, you have people who are good at what they do, but they're bad people. You have people who they may not be that great at what they do, but they're good people. They're honest people. You have people who are okay people, and they're just okay at what they do. They're mediocre in general. And then you have the best one that you would hope for, which is a needle in a haystack, is good people who are good at what they do. If you can find that, I always say, try to take care of those people for the season that they're in your life and appreciate them, because in the sea of people who do different things, it is very difficult to find someone who is good and good at what they do. Because even the so-called good people, we all have our deficiencies. Each and every one of us has one area of our life where it's like, okay, this is my karmic lesson, or this is this person's karmic lesson. So not putting people on certain pedestals or expecting them to be more than human is going to be the first step in your discernment and accepting the type of people who you will work with in your life. Hi, Melissa. I haven't heard from you in a long time, my love. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. Hello. Once again, just a quick PSA that just because you're anointed, just because you're gifted, just because you're magical does not mean you are the most morally gifted person in the world. Doesn't mean you're the kindest person. And even the so-called good people, they have their bad days. You may catch them on a day where something happened, they have an attitude. To err is human. So that's just what I wanted to add, an extension to the message I did at the farm yesterday. It's something I forgot to say, so I wanted to come on and add that to my PSA. A lot of people, they tend to They tend to look at spirituality as if it's a sector of humanity that's not a part of humanity. They expect everybody to be a certain way, and that's not so. The same areas that apply in other areas of your life where you have to discern is the same areas you have to apply of discernment to spirituality or spiritual people or spiritual principle. The live stream. Does anyone have any questions? Let me go back and review comments. Can you make offerings and work with the orishas without being initiated? The key is ikulo biocha. We always start with ancestors first and foremost, and then working our way up to ori, which is higher self. But offerings to the orishas in general for the uninitiated would be made in nature, such as crossroads, the sea, the river, the woods, etc., etc. And that's how that's done. Edible offerings. Biodegradable offerings, not littering. Like if you take some fruit to the water, flowers, you want to try your best not to litter and to put your trash in the trash when you're done. That's the basic, simple way. We all have access to nature. Am I able to do initiations? Really? Did she just ask me that? No. No, I am an initiate. It takes at least 7 years for an initiate to even think about. I mean, it depends on what system you're in. I'm a student right now. I'm an initiated student. I'm initiated into the priestesshood, but I'm still very much a student. No, I don't initiate. I'm surprised you asked me that here on this platform. I just asked, can a fake Baba hurt you spiritually? It depends. If they're fake, then do they really have the ashe? So it just depends. It depends on how much information you give them. Did you give them your DNA? Were you in contact with them personally? Did you have a physical relationship with them? All those type of things. That would be a question to email me at guidesandgoals@gmail.com. Zodiac houses. No, that would be astrology. That's something separate from the concepts of Ifa. A lot of us, before we began Ifa, we were into that. I'm still into it. I mean, you have people, but astrology is something totally different. That's like saying somebody practices yoga, but they also practice Tai Chi. Those are two different systems that don't intersect, but you can still be interested in both. It's not a mixing or muddling of things. It's just two different interests. Like saying I like basketball during basketball season and I like baseball during baseball season. Two different sports. What is one thing you could advise those embarking on African spirituality? Discernment, trust yourself. A lot of the basic things that I talk about for those embarking on African spirituality, if that's what you're interested in, is check out my playlist on YouTube. That's the quickest way to answer that question. Ancestors, guides, discernment, taking your time before joining yourself to a spiritual ile, known as a house or spiritual group. Mutually vetting each other first, doing your best to try to meet that person in person. I always say finding the right teacher is like dating. If you just go by online, you're not going to get the full scope of their personality. You need to be able to see that person in person. Go to their drummings, go to their misas, go to their events so you can get a feel for their energy and see if they're even ready for God children. Everybody's not ready for that, for mentorship or menteeship. It takes time. Just check out my YouTube playlist. A lot of those questions are already answered. Right now, Asada, I just have the Patreon and I have the phone appointments, which are 15 and 30-minute phone appointments at this time. That's the best I can do with coming close to talking about spiritualism. Steph Jones, how can I properly let people know the importance of calling on your ancestors? Steph Jones, one advice I want to give you is how to properly let people know the importance of calling your ancestors. You doing it working in your life, them seeing it work in your life, that will make them automatically interested if it's meant for them. People are not going to follow a person doing something if it's not working for them. If it's working for you, people will follow. People will be like, well, okay, it must not be that bad. So that's the key. Otherwise, if you're in the midst of something going backwards, then you may want to keep it to yourself that you're honoring ancestors. But if you're in a season of forward movement, then you exuding that, not even having to tell them what you're about, not hiding it, but not telling them what you're about, just being an example, then that would be like the Pied Piper, where people will kind of be intrigued and want to follow behind you. I hope I'm not being rude the way I'm answering these questions. Just some of them shock me sometimes, that it will be asked publicly. Ashe. Oh my gosh. Ambitious Scorpio, email me at guidesandgoals@gmail.com about that particular question. I don't do public recommendations anymore because, like I always say, people get recommendations. If you don't like the person, then you're going to be looking at me funny and blaming me. So I don't publicly, recommend people anymore. And half the time, the people I recommend, they don't even come back and thank me or anything like that. So I don't publicly recommend unless I met them personally. Sepulveda, yes, that's true. Just because someone is spiritual doesn't mean they're automatically good or have good intentions. Yes. It's just like basic common sense knowledge that needs to still be applied, even in spirituality. People are still people. We all still people. We all sneeze and cough and do all that stuff. So it still applies. It doesn't change because somebody knows how to meditate or chant, or people are people. We all have to eat and we all have to expel. Okay. Let's see. I've been told by psychiatrists that I may have schizophrenia. I've heard that in African traditions that this may be a sign of a healer. What's your take on this? Have you heard this in Yoruba land? So I want to be careful how I talk about mental wellness and diagnosis because I'm not giving medical advice. I don't have the right to do that. But what I will say is sometimes there is karmic energy, karmic tears and soul fragments to where it causes a person to have certain mental symptoms of psychosis and things such as that. So first of all, you want to seek a medical professional. That would be the proper thing for me to tell you to do. The next thing is to seek divination, to figure out exactly what it is and why you may be having those symptoms, because your symptoms, you may have that and somebody else has it, and both of y'all have it for two different reasons. So there's no cookie cutter answer to that. You want to get your own personal diagnosis to why. How did this happen? Is this something inherited? Is this something karmic? Is this something that you brought with you from a past life? Does it come from a soul fragmentation? All of those things are very important to figure out. I'm not doing past life readings right now, Jimmy3791. I'm currently a quantum healing hypnosis technique intern. I'm a level 1 intern with QHHT. So I'm still doing volunteer appointments for the people's names I call. I still have 20 to go. That's quite a lot. So after I finish those, then I will be open to doing past life regression appointments for the public. But right now it's just for the people who have volunteered and whose names were pulled late last year. If I have a reading and they included houses in the reading, is this a scam? Key butterfly. Not necessarily. I'm going to say this. If you got an EFI reading and they start talking about houses, there is an aspect of certain readings, and it's not popular. It's called Kamat Rahal, and it's more of an Eastern aspect, but that's not commonly known. So some people, they do tend to put that in there, but it's not common. So astrology really does not overlap with EFI. Those are two different things. EFI is based on Odu, the 256 Odu, 256 possibilities of EFI. All right, y'all have a wonderful weekend. Well, good evening. All right, and I'll try to come back before the end of the weekend. Bye-bye.